The promos and trailers are calling it a cross between Die Hard and Home Alone. Let's see how true that actually is, as Stranger Things' David Harbour stars as Santa Claus in Violent Night. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new theatrical film, a horror comedy, very R-rated, called Violent Night, featuring David Harbour. And before we launch into this review, I want to welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. Tons of great stuff on the channel for you to peruse. And in addition, if you'd love to subscribe, I would love that for you and for my channel as well. So do hit that subscribe button down below, or just like or comment on this video. That all helps the channel out. So I mentioned up top, sort of a cross between Die Hard and Home Alone. Well, the matriarch of the main family here is played by Beverly D'Angelo. So we also have a bit of a nod, perhaps, to the National Lampoon vacation movies, including, of course, Christmas Vacation. So sort of a few nods and winks here in this movie. But yes, David Harbour plays a drunken Santa Claus who is out for his nightly rounds on Christmas Eve, or annual rounds, I should say, where he stumbles onto a group of thieves who are trying to rob and possibly kill this very, very rich family who is led by, like I said, Beverly D'Angelo. John Leguizamo plays Jimmy Martinez, who is the leader of the big group here, the big bad of this movie is John Leguizamo, and boy, he gets around, right? We just saw him in The Menu, another horror comedy, about a month ago. I would say that was more of a dark comedy or a thriller, maybe even a mystery movie. This, I think you could classify as a straight-ahead horror comedy. We've had the horror movies, of course, featuring Santa Claus before. Silent Night, Deadly Night, actually, a little bit about me, was the first horror movie I ever saw. My buddy and I rented it on a sleepover when we were in probably 6th grade, and you saw boobs, so we were in on that. But it was, I didn't watch another horror movie probably for a couple of years. It did scare me a bit. And I'm sure if I watched it today, it would be more in this vein of sort of a comedic horror movie. But there's a lot of kills in this movie, and some interesting ways to do so, as you might imagine. One issue I have with it, let's, I guess, talk about my negatives first, since I was about to. First of all, it is a little too long. I don't think a Christmas movie or a horror movie needs to be quite a full 2 hours. This clocks in at about 1:55 or so. So, you could trim it a little bit, but that's not really my main issue. My main issue is that you don't really care about this family that they are burglaring. They are these out-of-touch rich people who are jerk-offs to each other and everyone around them. And you almost get the sense that, okay, maybe they should be robbed, I think of another R-rated comedy in the Christmas vein, which is The Ref, where you have Kevin Spacey and, who is the woman? Judy Davis. As like this bickering couple, and they're going through a divorce. They're not happy with each other, but they do love their son, and they're not really, they're kind of jerks, but, Dennis Leary is so funny that you're like sort of rooting for him anyway. But at least there, you're like, you wanted the family to sort of reunite and learn a lesson and stuff. Here, I didn't really care about this family. Whether Santa Claus saved the day or not, I was just like, okay, whatever, kill them all. It doesn't matter to me, except like there's a couple young kids, but the adults anyway, and especially Beverly D'Angelo as this sort of rich woman. And that's the way they were written. So they were played fine. But no, the real winner of this movie here is for sure David Harbour. I have to think this is his highest profile role other than Stranger Things. In film, we've seen him do a few things, and he's probably led a film before, but I think not really of this caliber. Like, this is, Universal Pictures putting it in, 3,000 or 4,000 theaters, giving it the old royal treatment. I think this in film has probably got to be his highest profile role, and it's really cool for him because he is great in it. Obviously, he's done, some dark things in Stranger Things as well, but here he really sort of lets it all out as Santa. And is the comedy, a little too on the nose in this movie? Yeah, maybe. It is Die Hard meets Home Alone in execution for sure, in many ways, but one thing that sort of turns me off of that is the literal mentions of both movies several times. Well, Die Hard maybe once, Home Alone several times. And so I think that's sort of all right. We already got sort of the metaphors here. We got it. You didn't need to hit us over the head with a hammer or a paint can, as it were, if we're talking Home Alone. So that was a little bit of a turnoff. But look, they did the same thing in the Ryan Reynolds movie I almost said Scrooge, but Spirited, that just came out because it's a Christmas Carol remake, and he mentions about Scrooged and the Bill Murray movie in that movie. I thought that was a little more authentic, than it was here. I think it was a little forced because they really wanted to, drive that point home. We got it. But yeah, David Harbour is great as Santa Claus. And John Leguizamo, he can do it all. We've seen this, but he makes a fun villain. He's clearly having a lot of fun with the role. Being the big bad, and his team of mercenaries, they're a little one note, I think, but they're fun, and that I think is the main point of this movie. Is this a smart movie? No. Is it even really maybe that good of a movie? Probably not, but it was a hell of a lot of fun to watch. For sure. I had a really good time with it. I think this is one that, I say this about movies every now and then, usually at least once a month, I'll say it, that you should watch this in a theater with, a big crowd of people if you're able to, because I think, that sort of spirit is going to be moving throughout the theater. A lot of laughs in this movie, and a lot of cool kills. There were a few times where I was just like, oh my God, had to look away. So yeah, and it's interesting that they also never explain a lot of the Santa Claus magic stuff purposely. Santa actually says many times in this movie, Santa magic, I don't really know how it works, There's a little bit of a side story about him doing it for so long, and the Mrs. Claus thing that could have been all thrown away. To be honest, that's a little bit overdone, I think. But overall, yeah, this is sort of a middling positive grade. I think it's either probably a B or a B minus. We're gonna, it's Christmas time, so we're gonna go on the slightly positive end because it was one hell of a lot of fun to watch, and I think that's very important for a movie like this. And it shows in the Rotten Tomatoes because it's like critically, it is liked critically at 70%, but the audience is 90%. People are having a really good time watching this flick, and I did as well. So I will leave Violent Night with a B. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.